All right, welcome. Crew Call with the Scooters. One of my favorite people in the entire world, Michelle Feist, is with us
Hi.
today. And I have known you for longer than I can even bear to count on my fingers and my toes, but I just love you so much. And I am so happy. Your schedule is crazy, but we just locked it in. We're going to figure it out. Got to get Michelle. And Michelle, you are with StarKist, and you have the coolest job in the world. Tell me what you do, and thank you again for being with me.
Well, thank you for having me. I've been watching all these sessions that you've been doing, and I've been very jealous too. And today, though, I was like, you know what? Today's my day. So, Jenny, thanks for having me.
Of course, of course. So Michelle, you've been with StarKist for how long now?
So I'll be in September, it'll be 11 years I've been at StarKist. And it's funny because it's a brand and business that I used to work at Del Monte Foods before I was at StarKist, like independently as a company. So at Del Monte, I did corporate communications there, and I worked with the brands and all their public relations initiatives. So I worked on the StarKist business as part of like a whole collective group of brands. And then before that, when I was at Ketchum, which is where Jenny and I got to work together as well, I worked on the StarKist business. In fact, one of my first jobs that I did, I helped out with some like media pitching. We were launching the pouches for the first time. And I got to do like some like pitching to the media as one of my first things at Ketchum. So it's a brand. I always say Charlie the Tuna and I have been together for a long time, since probably 1999. So, but it's been really fun. I head up corporate affairs at StarKist now.
It's amazing. And you know, the tuna business is an interesting business because you either love tuna or you might not love tuna. But tuna recipes, you know, because a good tuna melt, that can make or break a week. I mean, who doesn't love a good tuna melt?
Who doesn't love good tuna noodle casserole? Like, you know, Jenny, all those are such classics. But you know what? I think the beauty of the StarKist business is we've really evolved too, because you know, we know that this day and age, well, people over COVID are eating a lot of tuna noodle casserole. We do a lot with, we actually make chicken, we make salmon products, and we're doing a lot in those pouches. So our whole tagline is tear, eat, and go. We've been doing a lot with like having people take our food for snacks or lunch or a meal on the go. And honestly, having those pouches has really redefined our industry as well as our business. So it's been a lot of fun.
It's easy and it's good. I don't think people understand if you haven't tried it. It is good. It's like, oh, this is good. And you know, and you have the coolest job. Now you're not flying anywhere right now.
No, I'm not.
No, but you've been kind of everywhere. You guys go everywhere. And when you think about you know, that kind of interrelation with all of your the suppliers and the people that you deal with all the time, how has this kind of moment of work from home changed the business for the better, I would think, in some way?
I mean, it's very interesting. You know, in my function, just to kind of back that up a little bit and explain. So, you know, I think too, corporations, a lot of the times companies are having maybe less people wearing more hats. So that's sort of the case for me, which I personally love. I don't like to have like a predictable, okay, what's my day look like? I sort of love going into my day of like, all right, what's today going to bring? So I head up like, you know, my natural area of focus is public relations and social media. So I do that on behalf of the brand. I also head up government relations. So I work with a lobbying firm in Washington, D.C., and do a lot with legislative folks around different issues for our business. And then I also oversee internal communications with our employees. We have employees in Pittsburgh. We have an office in Arkansas, in Bentonville by Walmart. And we have our plants are in American Samoa and in Ecuador. So we have employees all over the globe. And then also I do corporate giving, which is part of my heart. I just absolutely love that. I feel like that's of my job, like such a blessing to be able to give back in the communities where our employees work and live. So, you know, there are many hats to that function of corporate affairs, but Yeah, I would say, Jenny knows I'm on my Instagram a lot. Like I do travel quite a bit. I do a lot of work with Candace Cameron Bure, who's been our spokesperson. She's DJ Tanner from Fuller House. For the last 4 years, she's been our spokesperson at StarKist. So, I do a lot with her with social media and like commercial shoots. And I get to do a lot of media relations with our PR firm. But then again, I also do with government relations. We're doing a lot in American Samoa, which is an American territory. So there quite a bit, and in DC. So I do love traveling, and it's so much fun. That's really come to a halt. I like stowed away my travel bag, and I'm just enjoying this time, Jenny. I'm a mother of two children. They're 10 and 12, and it's been kind of nice. My husband likes it too. Like he's such a partner and such a support in my career. And I know when I leave the door, like they're good, but it's nice to just take a little bit of a pause. And I do feel like we'll be back at it maybe in the next 6 months.
Well, it's interesting, because you covered a lot of Candace, which is interesting. She really does see, there's a lot of people that are spokespeople. You're right. I'm
Right.
like, I use the whatever and whatever, but she lives the lifestyle. I mean, I think she really is. And she's a good advocate for what you guys do. Cause the only reason I follow her is because of you. And I was like digging into what she was doing. And I was like, wow, this is somebody that really loves the brand. And I think to find brand partners like that is hard, but you are so good. And this is probably my moment of just doting on you for a little bit. There's not a lot of people that do what you do very well. And you're one of those people. You can connect people, and you bring people, and you lift them, and you're always so gracious. I'm not that gracious all the time. And you do such an incredible job of making people feel. And I think that that's a part of why StarKist has been very successful with Candace, because when you have somebody running that and you're looking for people to be a part of the brand, you see that, you see that love and that joy for what you guys do. And I think that's pretty exceptional, because she's, it's cool to see that. You know what I mean? It's like you saw her when she was little, and then you see her now, and it really exudes kind of that whole philosophy of the brand. I think is really a testament to who you are and to what you do. So that's just me.
Thank you, Jenny.
But yeah, absolutely.
I really appreciate that. Well, a couple things I will say about that. Well, first of all, thank you. It's so kind of you.
True.
There is I will say a couple things about, we have a whole team too in place that I think who helps manage Candace, who helps, broker her, make sure she's like knows her messaging and what's coming down the pipeline. And we have a wonderful team. Coburn Communications is the PR team I work with a lot to make that all happen. We have an amazing creative agency, Quench, out of Harrisburg, and our internal team from a brand marketing perspective. Yeah. So many people, when you do work with like a higher profile influencer or spokesperson, it's so much fun because so many people are involved in that decision and that partnership. And a well executed spokesperson activation, you're not only working with them in one facet. So for us, it's like she's in our TV spot. She does her social media. Yeah. She, on her side, she's an amazing social media person. They film videos on their end. So it's such an integrated approach. And she just fit the profile so well. We were looking for someone who's wholesome, who lives a healthy lifestyle, who really has their own journey of health, and was, we have that tear, eat, go message, and man, she's on the go. She's on the set, she's a mom, she's working out, checkbox and all the things that really made it a good partnership for us. So yeah, it's been so much fun. And, not only macro influencers like Candace, we do a lot of work with influencers on Instagram, food, diet, nutrition, influencers across the board, getting the products in people's hands and letting them try it, and then letting them do their own, spiel about the products, doing their own recipes, like giving them creative license to try the products and to tell them, their audience about it.
Let me ask you this, because there's not, getting into this field, I think it's probably somebody who would listen and go, wow, that's a really cool job, because you're working with agencies, you're working with a global company. It has a very important impact on society, because it is health and wellness, but it is nutrition and it is feeding people. I mean, if I was in school right now, what would I be going to school for? I mean, what was your journey through? How did you think about how to get into this? Because you've always been on the cool side of doing it, but you've also had a huge heart in terms of what your impact you wanted to have in a career.
Yeah, Jenny, I always loved writing, and I always liked kind of the journalism aspect. When I started out, it's hard when you're like 18, 19, knowing what you want to do for a living. Like, I hate that question actually, even when they ask kids, like, well, what do you want to be when you grow up? Like, okay, they don't know. Like, everyone needs to go like along their journey. And for me though, I love to write, and I just thought I really did a lot of internships even early in.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my internships in high school was at Ketchum Public Relations and Advertising Agency that Jenny and I worked at. And that was such an interesting experience. The year after that, I interned at like a news station. Mm-hmm. And it was like local news. And I was like, I wanted love to be a TV journalist. And then I saw kind of what really went into that. It was like a 2-week internship. I'm like, man, that like saved me so much time and money, because like not for me. So, I mean, I think, for me, I just knew I liked public relations, and whether I was going to be, I've promoted so many things in my career, Jenny, like, okay, tuna, Mattel, I work for Barbie, I've worked for alliances.
Do you remember when
like
Barbie got lost in Pittsburgh? Oh, I'm sorry. Do you remember when Barbie got lost in Pittsburgh when they came in for that big event? Do you remember that?
I wasn't part of that one, but I was when Barbie and Ken broke up. That was like a big thing I worked on. Which, man, we could have used social media back then.
I know, that would have been amazing. Canned Food Alliance you worked on. I still have, do you remember when you did test packets and you did the can opener?
Yes.
I still have that.
Jenny, you're such a big help. Like, we have so many fun memories. I remember a lot of your projects at Ketchum too. Yeah. So I think, I haven't always like the things that I promote are like, sort of normal things that people might not think about, but your job in public relations and social media is like, all right, take a very ordinary thing and how do you make it relevant? Like, how do you make it people talking about it? And, creating a little shelf space in someone's mind when they're in the store and they're passing the tuna aisle for like 6 seconds and they're trying to decide what they want. Like, how do you make them think about your brand differently compared to all the competition? So I've always liked that challenge, and I've never done like fashion or anything like that, but I always felt like the things that I do are still so much fun, and bringing that, and I just love food public relations too. Yeah. I think food's so relatable and interesting. There's a lot of issues behind it as well, and I think some of the proactive things you do and reactive as well to protect your company reputation or misinformation about your product. Like, there's a lot of fun challenges to it. I think it's just being open to going for it.
In terms of StarKist, you talked about community relations and giving back, and I know some of the stuff that you guys have done. But what's the philosophy in terms of why would they want to give back, or how are they giving back? How do you make that jump from we got to sell this to give back to our community?
That's such a good question. I really appreciate that question. One thing is that goes back to our company vision, which is a socially responsible company that provides healthy food for more people. And that socially responsible company, that's what I go into my CEO and our leadership. I'm like, all right, that is our directive as a vision, and how do we best leverage that and live that? It's not just like something that's on the wall. How do we live it? I've always been a believer of supporting those organizations closely where our employees work and live. So a lot of them in Pittsburgh, we do a lot with Light of Life missions. We do a lot with Kids Meal Network. We do a lot around feeding. It's like a Kids Meal Network does a feeding, like a warm lunch feeding program for children in the summertime. at locations all over. We also do work though all across the country with a group called Feed the Children. They're like a national organization. They're incredible. One thing I love about Feed the Children is if we have product that we don't necessarily we can't sell, or it's coming like to a point where it's like, you know, older age, but still amazing product. They have trucks that will come pick up that product and take it to those in need. We also do a lot of like hurricane relief efforts as well. And when COVID hit, actually, we've done a lot with the Pittsburgh Regional Food Bank. The need that they saw here, you know, was incredible. There's so much need in Pittsburgh, you know, like Pittsburgh in our own backyard. Even we're in the North Shore, in the north side behind us, there's just been in some of those communities in Sheridan, and there's been a lot of need. So, I mean, it's really such a wonderful opportunity to donate product and to give our time with our employees. So,
what do you think the most surprising thing people would know about or not know about tuna? This, you know, I think it's like tuna or a burger. Like, why pick tuna over something else?
Yeah, well, I will say that Americans eat less than 2 ounces of seafood a week, and they really should be eating around 8 ounces. So it's like if you can eat 2.5 meals a week with some seafood in it, whether it's salmon or tuna or shrimp or whatever, it's so good for your health. It's like part of the dietary guidelines for Americans. I think people do get concerned about things like mercury, but you know, the research shows that you would have to eat like over 50 ounces of seafood a week after week after week before there are any issues. And I think some of that misinformation just scares people in seafood in general, and they just don't want to eat it. But you know, I think the benefits outweigh any kind of risk. So I'd say try it. I mean, there's so many different flavors of tuna too. If you're like a little bit scared about that flavor, like go for one of the flavored pouches. It's like a good gateway. But also, I will say with StarKist, the other thing people really don't know is we do have chicken and we have salmon, and we actually have like microwavable tuna pouches too. We just launched, and that's scary for people too, like heating up your tuna, but there's very little odor, and I'd say that's pretty interesting too. So
that is interesting. Now, what do the kids like? What do they like? Do they have a favorite? I'm sure you give all this to these food banks and stuff like that, but is there a favorite among the kids? Because I kind of steer in the kids column. I'm always like, raviolis out of a can, I can do that. So what are the kids?
Yeah.
The kids
well,
like?
We have, I will say, like, we do have like a lunch kit with crackers in it, and you can mix the tuna and serve it on a cracker. That's always a big hit. I mean, we have buffalo chicken too, which the kids seem to like.
Yeah.
Do you know, so many times people, like we've done at this summer feeding program, like in the past, not COVID-19, not in the summer, but we've set up a little like tuna tasting session to get their feedback on the products. And they're like, I don't want to eat that. I don't want to try it. And then they'll try it. And they're like, oh, it's not so bad. Like they like it. So sometimes it's just sort of like trying it and getting over that. But I feel like the flavors, like Huff Buffalo style flavors, are really popular one in a wrap or on like a salad, or I mean, I think anything like buffalo style is good for kids. Maybe that's your go-to.
Okay, I'm gonna try it. I'm absolutely
gonna try it. Some, Jenny.
Yeah, I will. I absolutely. It's funny because when COVID started, I knew that people were buying a lot of tuna because you would go past the aisle and so much of it was gone, and you never had that. But it was like couldn't find toilet paper, paper towels, or tuna. It was like,
well, Jenny, our CEO, he was just in the Wall Street Journal a couple weeks ago. We did an interview with him, and our our marketing guy, our VP of marketing, he's done a lot of interviews too, because so many people in the business community are like, what's like your category, which has been decline for years, it's having its like best year ever. I think people do clamor to like shelf stable, tuna and those kinds of products when there's issues, or hurricanes. Always like we got a lot of sales with hurricanes.
I believe, well, it's easy and you don't have to think about it. And StarKist has a great reputation as a brand that is, you know, it's ethical and and in paying attention to not only the environment and how they're sourcing it, but also their communities, which I think is.
Yeah. I think too, in the fishing practices, you know, we do get a lot of like, you know, discourse and narrative about that. But one thing I always tell people is like, you know, we as an industry of like, there's no fish and there's no regulation on fisheries, and we're like out of a job too. So there, it's very incumbent on us to make sure we're supporting things like the International Seafood Sustainability Foundation and some of those, you know, just so it's like science-based information. So we as a company know the safety of the fish stocks, because yeah, if there's no fish, there's like no reason for any of us to stick around. So it's important we like manage that.
So, let me ask this question. So school is starting soon for the girls, and you have the most adorable girls who keep getting taller and taller. They're gonna.
I know.
I wonder if they're taking after Steve, you know, in terms of, and Greg. You know what I mean? That's Lord Feist tall height requirement. But what's happening with that? Do you know? And how has that been with online learning at home?
I mean, I think like, oh, Jenny, it's every working mother and parent is like going through all this. So, and we're in Upper St. Clair School District, and they're going back. You can have the option of like hybrid, going in 2 days a week, and then the rest of the days online, or you can do full online. So, you know, we've been quarantining, and we've been very like good about keeping our little family in a pod. It's been not a problem really. And to enjoy that time together. I am gonna let the girls go back 2 days a week. They are dying. They're 10 and 12, and I just think connecting with their friends at this point is so important. But you know, they're very good about their work from like online learning. They do go in their room. Like I could never have done this, but they go in, they like sign in before 10, they do their work, and then they're free. So I've been trying to get them outside and go on the trampoline, and just like, instead of being on screen time the whole day. It's hard when you're working, you're doing conference calls and trying to keep your job going, to like be kind of going back and forth. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting. I'll just say maybe we should check in like in a couple of months. But I think as a working parent, it has not been easy, but I think these people who have younger children, I think that's so much more challenging. So 10 and 12 is pretty good. They can maneuver through the day on their own pretty much.
And they're good kids. They're, you know, your girls are.
They love school. So yeah. I feel like that's like, you know, growing up, like I liked school. Like in my family, yeah, my brother, I could not see my brother dealing with like this back in the day. Like it's not for every kid. It's very challenging. I have so much heart for people are all over the board on this stuff, and I get it. Yeah. I do get it.
And you were talking, you and your husband share an office, and he also is in communications.
Yes.
And God bless Greg Feist. You know, what I love about you as a couple is that you're very much about family and kind of protecting the family unit and being so kind to all of those in your sphere and outside of your sphere. So I'll just say that because I just
Thanks,
think
Jenny.
he's a good.
I mean, you know the family. You're like honorary member. So.
No, and I love that. But I mean, so you're sharing an office. You're both in communications. You know, people don't understand marketing, communications, brand, all that stuff. I mean, you're on call pretty much 24/7 because everything, especially in your job, public affairs, I mean, you have all of that wrapped in. How has that been just in terms of, you know, managing that time and that brain space? And then how separating that from like, okay, now we have family dinner. Like, you know.
I will say the commute is great though, because you know we both work in town. He would take the T into town, I would drive, and there is something to be said about like being at like 5:30, we try to like wrap it up and make dinner, no, even if we have to go back to work. But it's something nice to be able to be like, okay, hey, honey, I'm home. We moved we had like a guest bedroom. So we took out the bed, bought a couple, desks, just like many people in America, and created our little home office. We never really had anything formal like that. And it's been so good. I was telling you a little bit earlier when we dialed in, like I've been learning a lot about my husband and his communication approach and how he deals with he does internal communications for a major engineering company that has offices all over the globe. And honestly, it's been really amazing. Like I've learned a lot from him, and it's been kind of nice to bounce off ideas. We come from two separate industries, but as communicators, you still have some core things that you're trying to achieve with communications with like people and employees during this time. So to me, it's been awesome. When we have conference calls, I'm quite loud on conference calls. Like I'm probably loud right now. Sorry.
You're not.
I get all happy, and we do kind of like leave and give each other some space. And he has like calls, and so like I'll give him some space, and we just hide out different parts of the house. But I'd say overall it's been great. I mean, I think who knows how much longer we'll be at it in this work from home situation, but I mean, I think we're just kind of like enjoying the ride as we go along.
I love
still married and still happy.
Yes. Well, yeah, you're one of the most incredible couples that I know. Now, I would be remiss to not talk about your wall color behind you, because I just think that's amazing. And
thank you.
Yes, and so tell me a little bit about what's happening in that space, and maybe who kind of made that happen.
Oh yeah, I was like, I'm like all about the family. So the wall color is from PPG, local Pittsburgh, but available all over. It's called Night Watch. It was the color of the year for 2019. Mm-hmm. And so my sister's Leanne Ford. She's an interior decorator, and my brother's Steve Ford, and he's a contractor. So they have a show on HGTV called Restored by the Fords. And they've done 2 seasons. They're actually filming their 3rd season right now, which I'm very excited about. It's all filmed in good old Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And they also worked on the Brady Bunch house. It was a very Brady renovation, which just got nominated for an Emmy, which I'm very excited for them. And they also Leanne and Steve did Rock the Block, which was like a competition among the other HGTV designers. So, I mean, it's been a lot of fun. So Leanne is like a project with PPG. She needed a dining room to paint Night Watch for 2019. I was happy to oblige. And I love it. It's so pretty. I will say, Jenny, I've had like 3 other, I'm not even kidding, 3 other friends like see the color and use it in I've seen it in an office, I've seen it in a bathroom, and I've seen it in other dining rooms. So I feel like it's been fun to have it.
I think it's absolutely beautiful. No, and just the whole family is so creative and just beautiful spirits that all about lifting. And you're all like that.
You need to get Leanne on your show. We'll get Leanne on this discussion. She's been, Leanne, and she's done a lot of podcasts. She just moved back from Los Angeles to Pittsburgh. And I think when COVID, I will say with COVID, that was such an amazing thing to happen to our family. Like that Leanne came back to Pittsburgh. She wanted her daughter, who's, just was 1 at the time, to be here with us. And so very happy to have her and her family here.
Oh, it's wonderful. And, her and Eric and Ever are just beautiful people. And of course, Steve,
Steve's awesome.
I know, he just is. He's just, all you have to do is say Steve. It's just Steve.
Steve, when he's not filming, he's out on his boat on the river, surfing behind it, his motorboat. So.
always with the dog. And, it's so good. I mean, I think we're really blessed as a community to have have that rise here in Pittsburgh and more of that, that talent be shown. And I think that's just,
Yeah.
it's great. And I just have the honor to cheer and be excited about what you guys are all doing, because it's just always so good and so different. And it's just,
Well,
it's
it's been fun to watch behind the scenes for me, because, being the PR person, and I feel like I've gotten some of my background, I really was able to help them as they were kind of like getting up and going.
Yep.
One of our amazing friends from Ketchum who helped us with all of our talent brokerings, Bill Stanky.
Yep.
As soon as this happened, I called Bill, and he was a contact that I had just trusted and loved for years. It was like, Bill, how, with the HGTV, like, how do they go about this? So just, it goes to show you, like, it's, it's really a small world after all, how kind of things
Yep.
can come together at points in your career. But I will just say one thing with HGTV and this show, it's so nice that they wanted to do something in Pittsburgh. And, they do so much in the West Coast and but like they were very committed to like a story about this town. And so it's wonderful. I think it just shows all the different neighborhoods and architecture and amazing people and talent we have right in this city. So for that, the Fords are there. Steve and Leanne, I know, take that very seriously, of like telling the story, Pittsburgh story, the best that they know how. So they're really proud to be from Pittsburgh and to showcase the beautiful city on their show. So
yes, they are, and they do a beautiful job, and they're very funny while they do it. So
season 3 should be interesting. I've been spying, so I think it's going to be great.
Well, Michelle, I love you. Thank you so much for doing this with me today. And
well, thank you for having me, Jenny. Keep up the good work. I love that you do this. It's been fun to watch it. You bring together so many amazing people within the community. And so I really applaud you for doing it. And I think it really is outstanding. And keep up the good work, girl.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I will tell the rest of the scooters that as well, because they have to deal with all the antics on the other side. So
I love it.
Thank you so much. And tell your mom I said hi.
I sure will.
Thank you.